Let's fly back almost 40 years to a time when things were a little less complicated, new wave was all the rage, and a new band from Britain burst on the scene with a very intoxicating, sophisticated, and unique sound. Hi everyone, this is Paul Crayson and you're watching Music Mentions. Today I'm going to be doing my first ever retro album review. This type of review is for those viewers that have never heard an older notable album, or for those viewers that have heard the album but may have forgotten how good it actually was. It's my small attempt to make sure that great music of the past is not lost in the haze of time, and that younger viewers have an opportunity to discover it now. The album that I'm going to be reviewing and exploring today is called Diamond Life by a band called Sade. I'll give you a rating on this album towards the end of the video. So let's touch a little bit on the background of the band around the time that this album was released. Sade was formed in 1982 in London, England. And by the way, it is the name of the band as well as the lead singer. Although the record company actually pronounced Sade on the labels of its release, this was inaccurate. It's actually pronounced Sade without the R, so there's a lot of confusion around that. But it's pronounced Sade, no R. Several members of the band were already in a band called Pride before they formed Sade. And Pride played a combination of funk, Latin, and a little bit of disco, and it was a 7-piece group. Let's do a quick run through of the primary band members. We've got Sade Adu. She is obviously the focus of this band. She is a singer and a songwriter. She was 25 years old when this album was released. And she was a background singer, actually, in Pride. She was not the lead singer in Pride. She was born in Nigeria and moved to England when she was 4 after her parents separated. She studied fashion design before forming this band. Stuart Matthewman was the guitarist, saxophonist, and also a primary songwriter. He was 24 years old when the album was released. We've got Paul Denman. He was a bassist, and he's also credited with one song as a songwriter. He was 26 years old. Andrew Hale was a keyboardist, also credited with one song as a songwriter, and he was the baby of the band at 22 years old. David Early, he was on drums and percussion. He was 27 years old. And we've got Paul Cook. He's also credited with being on the drums on this record, but he was fired by Sade a few months before the album was released because he objected to her signing a solo deal with CBS Records, and CBS Records is a part of Epic. He was 27 years old. The record was produced by Robin Millar, and it was recorded in October and November of 1983 at the Power Plant Studios in London. Let's switch over to the track listing and some of the song lengths. We've got 9 songs here. The song Cherry Pie is the longest at 6 minutes, 18 seconds. The shortest song is called When Am I Going to Make a Living? Most of the songs are a bit on the longer side, somewhere between 4.5 and 6 minutes. The total album length here is 44 minutes, 24 seconds. All right, let's talk about the album title and the cover. The album title Diamond Life and the font used here suggests more about the music found inside than it really does the lyrical content. Although it comes from the lyrics for the first song, Smooth Operator, it implies the music is sparkling, perfect, tasteful, and sophisticated. And from that angle, the title serves the album pretty well. The cover is mostly black, but with a widescreen, cool aquamarine color photo of Sade. Sade is looking at the lens with sultry eyes and slightly parted lips. Her hair is a bit disheveled, suggesting she's moving or dancing while her hand is open upwards, seeming to invite us in. The cover is now iconic and, as with the title, gives a good idea of the type of music that's contained inside. Here are some general album observations before I dive into the individual songs. The recording quality here is simply fantastic. It's just superb. There's a lot of air around the instruments, so the instruments have a lot of time to breathe. The mix here is near perfect. This is known as an audiophile quality type of recording, and when you listen to this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The vibe of this album is what I would describe as a sophisticated cool. It's a nighttime album. There's a real chill out feeling to this record, and it's perfect for a romantic evening as well. There were 4 singles released from this record. 2 of the singles were released before the album was released, and 2 after. Let's dive into the songs. The first song is called Smooth Operator. This was written by Sade and a gentleman named Raymond St. John, who was a former member of Pride. This was the 3rd single released, and it went on to become their most successful international song. The intro here isn't sung as much as it's spoken by Sade. It instantly establishes the mood of the record with its laid-back percussion and this sultry saxophone. This is a song about a rich playboy that is living the high life and breaking hearts along the way. The drums, percussion, and bass establish the groove in this song. The sax and the keys establish the mood. There are very tasteful and subtle keyboard stabs throughout, and if you listen to Sade, she frequently draws out her vowels long enough that she establishes almost a sense of longing for this guy, but also a sense of resignation, knowing that he's bad news. A post-chorus here implies that there's money involved with the love for sale line. The man, it seems, may actually be a pay-for-hire gigolo. By the way, the movie American Gigolo, starring Richard Gere, came out in 1980, just a few years before this song. Could Smooth Operator have been partially inspired by it? One thing to pay attention to when you're listening to this tune is there's an instrumental bridge about midway through the song, and it kind of slows down the momentum of the song, but then there's a saxophone that kicks in, the groove picks up. It's a very cool effect. Listen for it next time you listen to this one. This is simply a classic tune and really was the song that broke Sade into an international audience. The second song is called Your Love is King. This was the first single, and it's a bit slower than Smooth Operator. Right away, we've got that sultry saxophone again that starts the song, and the drums here are laid back, definitely played a little bit behind the beat. There's almost a light funkiness to this groove. We do get another sax solo this time, although this one is a little bit on the shorter side. Here's the chorus, which is really the focus of the tune. It isn't a big leap here to understand what she's singing about. If you look closely at the lyrics, it appears that she's receiving some, let's call it special attention from her lover. If you're still in doubt about the subject matter of this song, these lyrics from the verse should hopefully make it very clear to you. Anyway, another great moody song. Song number 3 is called Hang On To Your Love, and this was the 4th single. This one definitely picks up the pace a little bit. The drums and the bass line are really propelling and driving this song all the way through. And yes, definitely there's a disco groove going on here. If you feel like the groove here is a little bit familiar, it's basically the same groove as Billie Jean from Michael Jackson's Thriller, which came out the year before Hang On To Your Love was recorded. It's a little slower than Billie Jean, but there's no denying that Billie Jean was a main inspiration for the groove here. This track has some great percussion flourishes on it, and of all the songs on this album that are made to be danced to, this is number 1. It's definitely the grooviest song on this record. Also listen for these great little short funk guitar stabs that bounce from channel to channel in this tune. Sade's vocals, again, are spectacular, and she even does a little bit of scat singing on this tune. This is a pretty straightforward song about Sade trying to convince a friend to not give up on his or her relationship, and that love's definitely worth fighting for. This is another classic, and probably my favorite on this record. The fourth song is called Frankie's First Affair, and we're slowing things down a little bit. This song actually has a little waltz vibe to it, believe it or not. But there's also this great sad saxophone, once again, kind of at the beginning. It establishes the mood for this tune. The keyboards are very cool in this one. Sade's vocals on this track are simply superb, and she's got a lot of dynamics going, more dynamics than any of the other songs on this record as far as her vocals are concerned. She even approaches what I would call wailing territory. She gets up there, and there's a lot of emotion coming through her voice on this one. We also have another short sax solo, and the background singing here is also notable. Here we have a pre-chorus followed by the chorus. The song seems to be about a friend of Sade's who has successfully been a heartbreaker as the other woman in many past affairs. But this time, she's the victim of a cheating guy and is the one with a broken heart for a change. Super great song with some of Sade's best vocals. Song number 5 is called When Am I Going to Make a Living? And this was the second single from the album. It's also the shortest song at just under 3.5 minutes. We have kind of a bouncy piano and bass groove happening on this tune. There's some great background vocals and even some tambourine flourishes. And yes, we even get another saxophone solo. This is a bit of an autobiographical tune as Sade sings about the struggle before success. A lot of people can identify with sentiment here. One of those fight your way through adversity songs with a chorus that repeats, "We're hungry, but we won't give in." The vibe of the music suggests more positivity than resignation for sure. Almost a rally cry, especially the defiant chorus of "We're hungry, but we won't give in." Another great song with a great melody. Song number 6 is called Cherry Pie. This starts the second side of the record and is the longest song at over 6 minutes. This song starts with this repeating bass line, and we've got this guitar with a delay effect going on throughout the song. Sade even sounds like she's cooing a little bit on this tune at the beginning before the groove really kicks in. And listen for the keyboards too. Keyboards are really nice on this one. Here's the bridge or post-chorus, if you will. It's a song about Sade getting her heart broken. After she recovers somewhat, she still wants to know how he really felt about her and what she meant to him. Her curiosity won't leave well enough alone. It's got a great melody. It's got a great groove to it. Another winner. Song number 7 is called Sally. This is certainly the slowest, most laid-back song on the record. It reminds me of a song that may be played in a bar, very dark, smoke-filled bar at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's got that kind of a vibe and aura about it. I think a lot of the credit for the sadness of this song goes to the saxophone. It really kind of establishes that mood. This tune is an exploration of down-and-out young men that are helped by Sally, which is actually short for Salvation Army, although it was cleverly written in a way where you could interpret Sally being a lady of the night also. Another good tune, but probably my least favorite on this record. Song number 8 is called I Will Be Your Friend, and this picks up the tempo a little bit, especially after we just heard Sally. This has a nice little groove to it, and I think it's the keyboards that are also making this steel drum type of a sound. It's pretty interesting. Sade is singing a little bit of a higher register at points in this song, and I really like hearing when she stretches up a little bit in that register. Although when she does, she doesn't tend to stay there for very long. This song is about Sade reassuring a friend that she'll always be there for them through their struggles. Everyone needs a friend like the one Sade is in this tune. It's a solid track, but like Sally, it's probably not the best on the album. Song number 9 and the last song is called Why Can't We Live Together? This is actually a cover tune by a gentleman named Timmy Thomas that was recorded in 1972 on an album that is known for having the first drum machine sounds on it. Supposedly, Mr. Thomas recorded that entire album just using an organ, and there were some pre-programmed percussion sounds in it that he played on the organ. Anyway, fascinating side story behind this cover tune by Sade. The best way I could describe this tune is hypnotic. There are bongos that are being used almost as the only percussion throughout the song. They're very hypnotic, and there's a groove, a mood, and it kind of establishes this repetitive pattern. It'll pull you in. Listen for the sustained chords from the keyboards. They reminded me of Phil Collins' classic I Don't Care Anymore. That kind of chord that just sits there for a while and then changes, establishes a real mood behind it. There's a steady bass line that's propelling the song forward, and it definitely establishes a bit of a groove. Your head's going to be nodding when you listen to this tune. After we've had the bongos for a while, the drums kick in about 2/3 of the way into this tune and really kind of pick up the energy of the song. And it stays there for a little bit, but as the song ends, it goes back into kind of the minimalistic instrumentation that was used at the start of the tune. This is a song calling for peace. It was obviously about the Vietnam War when it was originally written, but man, these days, this sentiment sure holds up for me. This is a wonderful cover version, and it's a great way to end this album. A few final words around this record. I was 18 when this album came out, and at that time, I was listening primarily to a lot of aggressive, guitar-driven music, and also quite a bit of new wave stuff. When I first heard this record, I instantly fell in love with it. I don't know what it was about this one that really grabbed a hold of me, especially in the context of all the other different styles and genres I was listening to. I'm not normally a heavy R&B guy or even a disco guy, but this album had something unique, had a sound that I had never really heard before, and the songs themselves were absolutely fabulous. And that's why it stuck with me to this day. I still listen to this album on the regular. What isn't played is almost as important as what is played on this record. There's so much air, there's so much space around the instruments, and that has a lot of the credit for just that chilled out, cool, sophisticated vibe it establishes. All of the instruments are used perfectly. There's no overplaying. There's no self-indulgence or errant pathways where the music will lose you. It seems like every note, there's a purpose to it. I want to emphasize again that this is a great sounding record. The recording on this is just absolutely wonderful. I never get tired of the sound of this record. If you've ever been fortunate enough or had the opportunity to go to what's called an audio fest, it's basically a bunch of audiophile gearheads getting together. Companies bring their audio gear and set up individual rooms with different pieces of gear, and people play records or stream music or what have you through those systems. I've gone to several of these audio fests over the years, and invariably you're going to hear this album, at least a track or two, coming out of a room each time you go. This is known as an audiophile record for a reason. It sounds marvelous. Sade's voice is amazing throughout. Sade is not an oversinger. She doesn't use vibrato like Mariah Carey that'll just drive you up a wall. It seems like she's got an economy to her vocal style where every word, every inflection is purposeful. It's not forced. It sounds very natural. The timbre of her voice, it's almost like there's this longing sultriness to it, and her delivery. It's just fantastic. Simply a unique singer. I just don't think anyone quite sounds like Sade. This is an instantly accessible album. This does not sound like it came from the 1980s with kind of a signature 1980s, synth or gated drum sounds and that whole new wave sound. This sounds timeless. This record is smooth, it's groovy, it's sophisticated, it's cool, it's a great late night record, and I just love this thing to death. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Reminder that this is just my opinion and your mileage may vary. I don't imagine that a lot of people are going to argue with me about the rating on this album. However, I know that not all albums hit the same for all people. So if you don't like this album very much, let me know why in the comments. If you've never listened to this album, I especially want to hear from you cats that have never heard this. Let me know what you thought about it after you've listened to it. Would love to hear that. And for those of you that have been around for a while but haven't heard this album in a long time, go revisit it. I think you're in for a treat. Anyway, I'm Paul Crayson. You've been watching Music Mentions. Thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate your support. Hit the like, hit a subscribe, hit the notifications. I will see you next time.